when we say young men are killing themselves at 3 times the rate as young women, we use terms like accountability, or say things, well, if they just opened up more about their emotions, or they need to get their act together. And that is, we've decided when it comes to men, compassion is a zero-sum game. The statistics are just staggering. 4 times more likely to be addicted, 12 times more likely to be incarcerated.
So I'm sitting in Starbucks, my last day as a 29-year-old, my last day in my 20s, because I'm turning 30, okay? And I'm thinking about things like, what were the most important relationships that I cultivated in my 20s? What were my strengths and weaknesses? And I came upon the question, what was the single best thing I did for myself in my 20s? And the answer to that was a big, resounding journaling. That's what it was. The best thing I have done in my life was journal. And now I'm here to make this video because I want this to be geared more towards men and young men, okay? I feel like there's an epidemic right now happening where young men and men in general are lonelier than they have ever been in history before. There's a sense of purposelessness, okay? Dating is harder than it has ever been. We are isolated more than we have ever been in the history of forever, okay? 1 in 7 men in the United States don't have a single friend, and 1 in every 4 men can't name a best friend. This is the kind of statistics that bring awareness to the guys, and I want to be one of those people that brings awareness to this. So I'm trying God, I don't even know how to go about this video. It's going to be like a rant, but I just want to really talk about my experience, okay? You should start journaling, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I use my journals and kind of give you an explanation of how it's helped me and a little bit of a guide. So sit back and pay attention, because I think this is something that needs to be talked about more often. So I've been journaling for the last 20 years. Where did I learn that? I have no idea. Nobody in my family journals. It seems like I picked up a paper and I just started writing, but writing was the single best thing I could do in my life in terms of learning who I was and emotional intelligence. Now, I think as a society, we need to place emotional intelligence amongst men on the same pedestal that we place regular intelligence. Everybody likes to talk about how smart somebody is and all the accomplishments. But let me explain to you that there is such a hidden benefit to being emotionally intelligent. The thing that's happening now amongst young men and men in general is with the creation of online dating and video games and all of these such online experiences, there isn't a place where men can be vulnerable, okay? Where men can explore their feelings. And I know talking about feelings is kind of like, nobody wants to do this, okay? Nobody likes talking about it as a guy. You get shunned for talking about your feelings, and it's hard even among your friend group to be like, hey, I'm really sad, or I'm feeling really down. And it takes practice and it takes effort. But I think as a society, we're just not providing the spaces for men to be vulnerable, because honestly, being vulnerable and showing your emotions a lot of time is seen as a weakness, okay? And that's just how we're programmed. A lot of the things that we hear in traditional, heterosexual gender norms as men is that, toughen up, get through it. You're a guy. This happens. Just take it on the chin, keep going. And so we don't have those spaces. And I didn't have those spaces, even though I'm lucky because I grew up in a traditional Latino household, but it was never that kind of toxic masculinity that you usually see in Latino households. My dad cooked and is an amazing chef. He cleaned, he helped around the house. All right. And I want to dispel this myth that journaling has to be feminine or is a traditionally feminine activity. That's not true. All right. Everybody around you is going to benefit from you being more emotionally intelligent. Even with even being online, my experience online, I have been harassed constantly. I've been online bullied for my passion for journaling, okay? And it's hard. It's hard to deal with that if you're not really in a place where you're secure with yourself, if you're not secure with your sexuality, if you're not secure in who you want to become, okay? And dealing with that kind of backlash can affect your mental health. But I really just want to get that out of the way, okay? Journaling is not feminine, and I think every guy should do it more. Now, the thing is, I don't know why there's this stigma that you can't have one without the other. You know, you can, even if it was a feminine activity or considered a feminine activity, does it matter? Does anybody really care? No, I do. I consider myself a feminine-esque man. I have feminine qualities. You know, I have long nails on my hands. My favorite color is pink. I have a stuffed animal that I've had since I was 12. But on the opposite side, I'll go to the gym. I'll deadlift 415 pounds. I could bench press 230 pounds. I'll change the oil to my car. I'll build you a desk. You know, there's this yin and this yang. It's okay to have feminine qualities and still be very safe and secure in your masculinity. And that's really the biggest thing that I want to drive home for a man or a guy who's watching this in his young 20s. Start journaling. It doesn't matter what people say. You're the one who's going to benefit from it, and everybody around you is going to benefit from the emotional intelligence you're going to develop. So my current journaling setup that I have right now is two. Well, I have plenty of journals, but my consistent journaling consists of two things. Number one is that I have a daily journal. I have a daily digital journal where I used to recount my days. Okay. I use it to document even the most mundane things. I find a highlight of my day and I tell it like it was a Marvel story. And the way I write in is I'm hyper detailed and hyper specific and descriptive in the way I describe that one highlight of my day. Okay, I write it like I'm talking about a Marvel movie or a sappy romantic comedy, and I paint a picture of how I'm feeling and what's going on in my daily journal. And I type it because honestly, you know, after a 10-hour shift of working, or if you're working a blue-collar job, you're not going to want to sit down and write for 2 hours. So I type it. And I really use it as a way to document my life, okay? Document moments, experiences, people that I meet, and relationships that I develop. Then the second journal that I have is more of a weekly journal, or maybe like once every 3 days, where it's a lot more intentional and I use my fountain pens and it's in writing. And that is more of an exploratory kind of journal about how I feel, questions about myself. And like the thing is, life, you need to romanticize your own life, okay? You need to be the protagonist of your own story, where everybody's their own little universe. And as a man, we just don't have the spaces to be vulnerable, to explore ourselves. Life isn't like a romantic comedy where you're going to be sitting under the stars with a girl you just met and you're in a convertible and you start asking each other the deepest questions. Like imagine, you know, you're just sitting down at a bus station, a stranger comes up to you, hey man, what are your deepest fears? What are you afraid of? You know, do you believe in religion? No, nobody asks you those questions. If you're not intentionally trying to make an effort to explore the deeper parts of yourself, you're not going to have the opportunity to do so until probably much later in life, when you're actually in a relationship, when you're actually like, there just isn't these spaces other than a relationship where you have these conversations. And more so now that men just have less friends, men have less confidants. You know, all of our friendships are digital, and as much as we try to say that those friendships are as valuable as a friend that you make in real life, they're not. Okay, it's always surface level. You don't really know somebody till you see them, till you meet them in person. You know, we show the best version of ourselves online. And so having that journal kind of helps you explore your values, explore your core values of who you are, what you believe, and be concrete in the decisions that you make, and it just helps you develop as a person. Okay? And it's okay to not know what to journal about. All right? It doesn't need to be perfect. I journal about playing Valorant for 12 hours and why I enjoy playing Valorant and the social aspects of gaming and how I use that to connect with my friends. But I just journal about anything. And if you're lost, the biggest thing about having a physical journal is, one, it's very intentional, and you're going to think about what you're going to write next, because you're not going to waste the energy of scribbling down. Number two is you can use prompts. You can use prompts to explore yourself. There are hundreds of thousands of prompts about any kind of philosophical or deep question you want to ask yourself. Just pick one. Just pick one and write about it, and kind of decide the person you want to be. That's what journaling's really helped me develop, is help me decide where I stand on certain societal things and deeper questions, philosophical questions. And I've just built up an understanding of me, myself, and I. Really, I want this to be your space. I want this journal to be a place where you come to an understanding of who you are as a person. And I think as men, we need to be more open with each other. I think we need to give each other the space to be emotional and fragile. And we have the same emotions that women do. Okay, that's fine. We need to be more open about this in our friend groups. I have no problem telling my friends I love them. I have no problem sharing some deep insecurities with them. But even me being me, there's still certain things that I keep to myself. There's still certain things that I don't reveal. But my journal, if I was to pass, and that journal was the one thing that was left behind of who I was, you would see some really dark innermost thoughts. But they're out. Okay, another benefit of having a physical journal or a digital journal is you don't really know how much you keep inside. You don't really know how many thoughts you have every second of every day. You have nowhere to place that. That builds up. Okay, it becomes tiring. You don't have anywhere to let it out. And it could be physical. You could go to the gym, and that's kind of how you release, your emotions. But there needs to be a place where you can put your thoughts and your ideas, your goals. And don't even get me started on studies that show how important it is to write your goals. Okay, I use my journals to document my journey on my goals, break them down into actionable steps, and have constant reminders of what I want to achieve. It's so much fun. That's why I am a documentarian in my life and in my friends' lives. I take pictures, I take videos, I journal about the experiences. Looking back on who you were and how much you've grown is so motivating to become better. It's so motivating to grow. It helps you really see the progress. And I did that with my urban sketching. This is definitely a topic I'm pretty passionate about. Surprisingly, my audience is 60% men, 40% female. And I would really like to cultivate a community where I show guys that it's okay to partake in this hobby. And it's a safe space to share the things that you like, even if they're considered feminine. It doesn't matter. Here, I'm gonna be super honest with you guys. Okay, this is something that I don't really talk about. Every single girlfriend that I have had up until this point, until the age of 30, has thought I was gay. They did. Yet it hasn't really affected the way I see myself. I'm very secure in my masculine energy and what I could provide in a relationship. And eventually, the girls kind of broke down and realized that, the emotional intelligence is really a superpower. Okay, they want a partner who understands them. They want a partner who understands themselves. There's not this hyper masculinity aggressiveness that a lot of the gender norms tend to push today. You can be a provider, okay? You can be strong, you can be a protector, but that doesn't mean that you can't be emotional. That doesn't mean you can't be in tune with your feelings. I'm not saying that you have to be feminine, okay? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to be more feminine in order to be a successful man. No, I'm still trying to promote that masculine energy with a little more understanding involved. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. We keep so many things like tucked in that it's frustrating. And I want in the future, if I'm blessed enough to have kids, I would love to provide that space to my kids where they can be open, where they could share their fears, their experiences, their achievements, help guide them, and give them a journal. You best believe I'm going to be documenting my kids' lives, not for the internet, but for themselves, from the minute they're born till I pass away. I think it's a really important tool that men specifically should partake more in. Journaling, any kind of journaling. It could be artistic, it could be your prompts, it can be voice notes, it could be a vlog, just journaling in general. And I'm passionate about this subject because I was that guy. You know, I was that lonely man. I was that guy who had no purpose. I was that guy who felt lost. I was that guy who felt overwhelmed with how I felt in a society that told me I should just toughen up and be stronger. And I realized that those emotions and those feelings weren't making me any less strong. If anything, overcoming them, feeling myself through those feelings have made me a much better leader, a much better person, a much better boyfriend. And this was just a little rant. I think it's important to have people talking about this from one guy to another, about the importance of being emotionally intelligent, of understanding yourself. I know this isn't like most videos that I make, but hopefully I kind of helped you understand that it's okay, and hope to provide more value to men and everybody in general on this channel as time goes on. So I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.